falling like a feather, and everyone who knows you knows you knows you knows you knows you best will float. The storm is coming, baby, and everyone who knows you knows you knows you knows you knows you best. Formidable opponent, angry crackpot. Formidable opponent, dangerous lecture. Formidable opponent, you can walk out. Formidable opponent, think you had the choice. Formidable opponent, angry crackpot. Formidable opponent, dangerous lecture. Formidable opponent, you can walk out. Formidable opponent, think you had the choice. Float, the moon is calling, a souvenir, a swimmer's rescue. Left fixing the foam, mixing your liquids, now you're left for dead. Just pay your debts. Float, the moon is calling, a souvenir, a swimmer's rescue. Left fixing the foam, mixing your liquids, now you're left for dead. Just pay your debts. Float, the moon is calling, a souvenir. Rescue. What's up everybody? Welcome to the weekend stream. It's been a few days. Start at the top, what's happening? Starlight Spectrum, Angry Crockpot. I was literally laughing about it right before I went live. What's going on, Kimmy? Revolution, Miguel. Be strong. Crazy times we live in. What's going on, Bon Dia and Ellie Wynn, let's float. Hope y'all are feeling okay tonight. Pretty waning moon in alignment perfectly with Rigel and Betelgeuse tonight. If you follow them all the way to the east, you'll find the moon. So, but there's a big cloud covering Orion. So I'll see if I can't get some M42 for us. The moon's at, I want to say 60, where is it? 63.8. There have been crazy cyclone storms pushing through where I'm at, but it finally cleared. Alright, let's settle in. It's going to be a fun one. I see Aldebaran is up there as well. back at it.
And be weird in your heart of the
sorry. So, not trying to underplay the revolution that Miguel was talking about. I'm just, for some reason, like, as always, I was zooming in here just thinking like, holy crap, it's unreal. It almost doesn't even make sense that we're looking at this thing and it's up in the sky. So, just in relation to things, just really dialed everything back. What's going on, Justin? And here we got Lost Brooklyn popped in, and anyone else just hanging out. Good to see everybody. But look at this insane detail. I mean, just, I can't even handle it. Of course, because not just the magnitude of it, but the fact that your eye creates this too. Like there's a dance between human consciousness and the ether that creates this nebular cloud and this cluster of the trapezium stars. And this is like full color, so it's just crazy that you can capture this. I could have never imagined it. Absolutely insane. Look at this color. I'm just going to push the contrast a bit so we can see what that looks like. And I'm going to do a quick inversion. Look at this inversion. It's like bacteria under a microscope. We're looking at the M42 nebula in Orion. This is Hatsia, the trapezium cluster. Insane in the membrane, exactly. Insane in the membrane. Let's switch it up here and do some tunes. Alright, so I'll take a couple more snaps and I'll go back to the moon. Yo, what's going on, Light Moon? How you doing? Yeah, M45 is not visible really on the stream. Plus I want to get back to the moonage. So here we go.
Send you that telemetry and tell me what you do with it if you were me. Position from above, she said it was the Colonel. Right to be making love, it wasn't eternal. We got to back on stage just to never hurt you. Your band it left with us, this wasn't even booked. This in the middle, but can't afford it. Went to the side on your big taxi, no matter how you earn it. Full co-wrecking crew when your life was bitter. Bring it to your rebirth day, we busted out on Twitter. calling in from outer space, golden on the earth tonight. Say that we can try and tell me what you'd do with it if you were me, Martin. Falling away of the earth, I'm calling up the space, but you don't even hear me. I'm calling down from the fallen.
Yo, what's going on, 921 Virgo? Just getting it dialed in here on the Lulu. What's going on 24/7? There's gonna be a revolution this year. There's gonna be a cycle, some cycles this year. Live tunes, have no fear. Have no fear. Live tunes, have no fear. Play live. What's up? How we done? How's it going? Hey, eat all your fish. I'm playing like this, and I eat all your fish. Play on like that. Don't need no apocalypse. Don't need no motherless kick. Oh, hey there, Mary, it's so nice to see you there. My spacia. My spacia, nice to see you all. wanna be somewhere this falling away with you. Just make it so magical. I got a little twist in the ankle when I was a child. It had me tripping on Luna, on cosmic light, and then I found my secret soulmate. I'll play it my way and make do, make do, make do with it. I make do, make new with it. I play who, I play for you. Don't mess up with it now. They're getting used to it now. Used to feel like my heartbeat, used to it now. Try me once again, fall into your flight path. What's happening? And try me once. I was pretty tasty, but at the bottom of your pan, I sopped you up with butter, then finished entertaining, cleaned up the floor, I lay down to meet you. I know you were there, hiding, waiting for me, lying, hungry, waiting for me, baby, waiting for me. So fresh to you, so come back to you. I hope you're doing practically well, practically well. Those hexagons I'm all but forgotten. We're hexagon, not long but forgotten. Chilling like a beaver at the weaver's cottage. I was smiling up and down, you had your black hair covering your frown. They took your space away. You know you gotta bear it. You know you got to try some porridge in the forest. Don't ignore it. Your need for space is here. Need for space. Space is clear. Let's get it free. It ain't no business, no, no. It ain't hypocrisy, no, no. Little break spaces here, let's get it. I felt like the clear freak. Let's set this moon right. So pretty. It's still rising, and we'll do a little zoomed in shot momentarily. So everywhere it's happening, oh, find a way to reach the self in me. Find a way to reach them every way. Just trying something new. Trying something new. There's not much left to do. I'm trying something new. What's up, Eric Washington? Shit, it's Howie's birthday. I missed that. Howie, happy birthday. Let's do a really weird birthday song. You're still alive this birthday. Pretty sure you are. Happy birthday, Howie. Smoking Maui Wowie, oh yeah. Maybe you are, maybe you're not, maybe you are. Either way, I'm sure someone is. Either way, I'm sure someone has. Either way, I'm sure you had a birthday man. So cool birthday jam. Howie, you're the man. Happy dang day. Happy dang day. Oh, 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 yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm doing along, I'm doing along, I'm doing a long, long way. You took my love, you took my love, you took my love today. I'm driven along, I'm driven along, I'm driven a long, long way. You took my love, you took my love, you took my love today. I'm driven along, I'm driven along, I'm driven a long, long way. You took my love, you took my love, you took my love today. Sitting in the backseat, set the attention. Chrome fantastic. Throw your views in reverse. I'm driven along, I'm driven along, I'm driven a long, long way. You took my love, you took my love, you took my love today. You're driven along, I'm driven along, I'm driven a long, long way. You took my love, you took my love, you took my love today. I'm driven along, I'm driven along, I know, yeah. You took my love, you took my love, you took my love today. Sitting in the backseat, sever the attention. Chrome fantastic. Throw your fears in reverse. I'm driven along. I'm driven along. I'm driven along. Whoa, whoa, whoa. driven along, driven along, driven along, I'm driven along, I'm driven along, I'm driven along, I'm driven along. I see deep in your heart, new things pop up every day. I find you nice through weird attraction line. Come on, man, there are some silly people in this world. There are some crazy people screwing up it all for everyone, screwing it up, screwing up it all. Screwing up it all, you know, for everyone, weird attraction, for everyone, weird attraction, everyone's soul mind, weird attraction, the silent soul attracting to you. It says weird attraction. Informist, oh, they want you to feel so whacked out every day. On the pills, they change your mind to feel nothing. Who knows why? So many crazy people out there. So many crazy people there, so many crazy people out there. You know they gotta exist. We measure our own, we measure our own sanity. We measure our own sanity by those walls. By those walls. Yo, have fun building a computer flight path. Don't feel a bottom, come out. And you know people've had it when they got nothing left to lose. And you know, yo, those people had it when they got nothing left to lose. No, no, always a struggle, always a struggle. Stranding over the train. Yeah, totally winging it, you know how I do. So why was I holding back before? You know it sounds better with 6 hours warm. 6 hours. Thanks, Mary, and thanks, Eat. Chill vibes, totally chill vibes. Totally chill jazz. Yo, I should really check out Shoot the Moon. I will, I know, it's on my list of things to do. I finally got a minute today. You wouldn't believe me. To sit down and watch something for 2 hours. Alright, there's a lot of stuff to watch, but I will catch up on that soon. What's up, somebody somewhere? Shout outs to Sky Scholar. I haven't gotten through that video, but he posted a new one, Dr. Pierre-Marie Robitaille, talking about how they gathered the data for M87, the black hole image. Really fascinating stuff. And most interestingly, and of course they didn't reference the moon for real, but they just had they had a recent update on the lunar scarification on Thunderbolts channel. So that's another reiteration. I mean, look at this moon surface. What do you think? It was random. Look at this moon surface made by the hand. This lunar surface made by your mind. This lunar surface. Yeah, I need a little break, a little water here. Refresh the mind. But I'll zoom in too. It's gonna look great. Damn, really? I ran out of memory card? Are you kidding me? Alright. Was not prepared. If you want life.
If you want life, don't cling. Let go.
Let go.
How can I desire not to desire? How can I surrender myself when myself is precisely an urge to hold on, to cling to life, to continue to survive? I may be like a person who has a bad habit, as a result of which he is committing suicide. He knows that, but can't give it up, because the means of death are so sweet. The way the world actually is an enormously complex, interrelated organism. People undergoing shock, people locked in the colorless, monotonous corridors of mental institute. If you want life, don't cling. Is that if you are really aware of your own inner working, we didn't have some campaign to have an improved brain. When you see that there's nothing else, there's nothing else. If you want life, don't cling.
Just little came along and asked me where the hell I thought I was going. I got nothing to hide, and nowhere sounds pretty good to me. I'm staying with the dream I make believe in the light of the moon. I will steal your heart in the light of the moon. I will steal your heart in the light of the So welcome to the greatest show on earth. It was your lively intervention. You were the favorite since birth. The longest chair in my confession. And if you speculate the worth of a lifetime in search of good intentions, you'll find out what to do. If you don't land and you're screwed, you'll burn in search of the truth. The dream I make believe in the light of the moon. I will steal your heart in the light of the moon. I will steal your heart in the light of the
All right. Just jumping back in here to answer some questions. So, didn't mean to actually, let me tell you about the dark side, but the terms are important in this context just to convey the right idea. So, dark side of the moon that Pink Floyd was writing about, that's really part of our culture, is, to me, I really haven't seen an interview where they really specify it, but in science terminology, the dark side is this kind of earth-shine portion that we see from Earth. So when the moon is at certain waning phases or waxing phases, you can see the portion of the moon that's illuminated by Earth, but it looks dark to us. However, the far side of the moon is the other side of the moon that we don't see, about 48% or so. So with lunar libration, where the moon tilts as it comes towards us, and during its apogee and perigee, it basically tilts and shows us about 60% of its surface. So there's about 40% of the moon that we don't ever really see, that at some point in the future or in the past we might have seen. There are tons and tons of pictures of the far side, from Russian satellites to American Apollo missions to Chinese landers. And I know that people are very skeptical, and I'm very skeptical, but there are tons of pictures. If you put them all side by side, you'll see that they're really, they all look very consistent from agency to agency, from year to year. And it's very hard to fake what really looks like a portion of the moon. I would really, that's one of those things that seems very difficult. Got cloudy. I was just getting ready to show some zoomed in shots and talk about some hexagons here. Let's see if I can get it before all these clouds move in. Eat all your fish says, lol, 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 lol. Yeah, think about that last statement. Russians, then NASA, and then China. It's a hard pill to swallow, bro, just saying. So, like, you know, I'm not trying to sell you that pill. I'm no Morpheus over here. It's kind of up to everybody to make their own decisions about what they believe about global politics, geopolitical situations, etc. in the news. I'm just saying that there are countries that you can go to called China and Russia, and they had missions at certain periods. So whether you want to believe those or not, you know, it's up to you. But you know, as skeptical and cynical as I am, if you look into the data and just look at the photos and the spectroscopy and the radiometry and just all the different tests, after doing it myself, you realize like a lot of people work for a system they might not believe in, but all these people are not, you know, just bad people because they work for a crappy organization. So a lot of people have, you know, created incredible satellites and incredible space technology, and you can't really deny that because we have data to support it. Whether or not it's fully transparent, you know, it's neither here nor there. Yeah, I don't mean to pinpoint you, Eat. I'm just saying it's an interesting topic to bring up. Mary says, "What wouldn't a satellite or whatever be consumed?" Can you explain that further? You mean by the moon? Yeah, tons of things have crashed on the moon and Mars. I mean, I have a much harder time thinking that craft regularly go to Mars, which is like 50 million miles away. Whereas if we had like a regular lunar program where things were landing on the moon all the time, I wouldn't have a really difficult time believing that. If you think about just even within the electric universe, the electrical shells of the Earth really encapsulate the moon. So any type of craft that works with dielectricity or magnetism or electrogravitic is going to be able to get to the moon really easily. It's actually quite strange that we have a public program that doesn't get to the moon regularly. Look at this crispness tonight, it's crazy. I wasn't expecting it to be so good. I was actually a bit fearful that it would have that kind of storm residue. Space consume it. Well, space would consume us without a magnetic field, but it doesn't. In fact, like, we exist because of counter space. You know, the tiny, when science talks about, you know, your bodies are 99% nothing, empty space, and 1% matter, what they mean is, or what I think they were alluding to, is the fact that, you know, counter space holds this tiny, tiny fraction of all dust and dusty plasma into place in the form of humans and the cosmos and bacteria, etc. And so really it is like 99% dark matter or ether and 1% matter or radiance or light. But we're not separate because your very existence depends on your interaction with the universe. So your eye really is what creates all of this. The tiny point in the center of your eye creates the space between us and space into the heavens and into these tiny little particles. All right, so really killer shot right here of Tycho and Clavius. Let's jump into Clavius. I'm gonna talk real quick tonight because the view is gonna run away from us, and we're just gonna see all the geometry here. So Clavius, interestingly, looks a lot like a diamond shape tonight. I should really pull out the telestration when we do that. Okay, so paint, capture, let's see. There we go. Yeah, so Clavius with a string of craters, almost looks like a Fibonacci sequence of craters. As clear as you want it to be. I don't think I've seen it this clear in a long time. That's why I was really like yearning for the October skies. They really bring special views, and it's one of those things that like you only get that month cycle, and so you really got to make sure you capture all these different features at the right nights. It's been annoying to not be able to for the last few nights. Anyway, check out this diamond. This is similar in a way to Aristarchus Plateau, and then you got the Fibonacci spiral. This is not, in my opinion, a series of strikes that fell to the moon and just implanted. These look like something was moving along a filamentary axis. Alright, then next to it, you can see even more of that. Look at this really sharp 90-degree corner right here, centered on your screen. This is Maginus. M-A-G-I-N-U-S. And these are like hundreds of kilometers, but look at that sharp corner. And then to the left is Tycho Crater. Definitely, if you want to draw the lines, I'm going to draw them. Let's see, it's not really hexagonal, but there's 2, 3, and 4. It's drifting a little bit. That's gonna be tough. All right. All right, here's a really interesting hexagonal interlocking feature with overlays. There's natural stacking and stratification and blurification of my view. Man, so great tonight. Here's another very sharp corner. Let's see what crater this is. This is Walter with an H. W-A-L-T-H-E-R, with like its own tiny little mountain range. This song was called The Visit, and I wrote it thinking about doing like lunar zooms way back in the beginning. It's perfect for now. Look at all these interlocking hexagons. This is so fascinating. I was telling y'all, if you look at the bubbles in your sink, or if you ever do pour over coffee and you let it simmer and bubble, you'll get these interlocking hexagons. this is something that I wish Thunderbolts would talk about. If you all leave comments, ask them about these types of things, which is the fact that you have systems of interlocking hexagons, and they look like honeycombs, and they look like bubbles, and they create boundary layers. This is what's fascinating. Every time somebody says, oh, the lunar craters are so perfectly circular, I'm like, are you kidding me? They're totally not. Like, the majority of them are actually interlocking hexagonal shapes and pentagons. All right, where's my paint program? All right, here we go. So there was Walter Crater, and then, see, even with two screens, I have like the drawing app and the atlas and OBS, and I have to see all of it. Where is this? So Walter, and then the other two are Regiomontanus and Purback are the ones side by side, dead center. And they kind of interlock with Lacaille, Blancanus, and Werner. All right, of course the clouds came and busted up our zoom right here. We'll have to give it a second. Oh dang, that doesn't look too good. Yo, what's going on, Masked Bishop? Alien head. Alien head. Oh hell yeah, get it. So clouds are moving. I thought it was almost done for, but thankfully get to experience this just a little bit longer and make my point. Let's see, Mary Quite says, I made a puddle of bubbles on my kitchen counter with dish soap and a spike formed in the middle just like lunar craters. Hell yeah. I love it. Simple experiment. Just do it in your sink or on the kitchen counter like Mary, and test like different types of soap and different amounts of water, and just try and do, and you'll see just like the recursive large bubbles and very small bubbles packing together as close as possible, and then even tinier bubbles next to them. And that's what we see on the moon actually. So are impacts making all these different features, or are these things basically forming because of moisture and electrical discharge? You can see almost the current filaments between these two structures, or all these different structures rather. See, the bubbles were hexagonal, hell yeah, like, and some of them, you know, will start packing, and that's exciting, Mary, awesome. Also, of course, water curves, you can see bubbles, very simple. I don't know why that took so long for people to use that. This idea that water doesn't curve is pretty silly. But there are a lot of mysteries left. It doesn't mean that just because your particular conspiracy is not completely right, doesn't mean that there aren't mysteries left in the universe. Clearly you have somebody like Pierre-Marie Robitaille doing, or Dr. Pierre-Marie Robitaille rather, I mean, I would say, like, if you see ballistic impacts, you'll see these little mounds that are formed afterwards, and I wouldn't, rule out the fact that there are definitely tiny little meteorites that strike the moon constantly. But I really think this idea that impacts created the mares and these huge features like Copernicus that we're looking at right here. I'm gonna get this filter going right so you can see the filamentary action, the action des filaments. And the coloring, of course. See, I never understood the moon's coloring until I found out myself. Isn't that really strange that we have just such a poor understanding of our moon? And like a lot of people say, oh, you didn't look into it, Apollo did all that stuff, but think about our pop culture and how twisted it really is in terms of like what they teach. People are not really taught about the moon programs and the moon images and how it was all achieved, and there isn't really context or resolve for many people. So this idea that you're going to belittle people and say, oh, you're an idiot for questioning things about the moon, I think that's so silly and mean-spirited. Yeah, so to tell, thanks, Eat All Your Fish says it does the same thing in that Thunderbolts Project video, several vids actually, right? So they just released a video with the same sort of thing that I pretty much stole. I don't want to say like I copied them, but like that line of research is just up for grabs. And I thought, oh man, nobody's talking about the moon within the context of the electric universe, and how do I talk about it? And like there was a certain period, I think like about a year into the show, I was like, well, let me talk about the moon within the context of EU. So the first year or so I wasn't really, probably the first year I wasn't really talking about electric universe, even though I'd seen all the Thunderbolts stuff, I was still not sure. But then when you see these structures, you're like, man, this was carved. Like the Earth was carved. And then you realize that winds and rains and geology and volcanoes, all of these are electrical. It makes a lot more sense if it's one phenomenon in different modalities versus like, yeah, this is random. Here's a random ad hoc theorem for this. Oh, I don't understand that, so let's make up this other thing. Oh, it's a special thing, and it's not that. Versus we have a world that really actually does make sense. It is decipherable. And I've said it before, but really, a state of confusion is the best consumer. If they gave you the answer and said, this is how it is, it would be hard to sell to you. Mass Bishop says, has anyone looked into the water emotion from Masahiro Emoto? It's pretty funny that his name is Emoto, for the idea of what he does, but it's probably very poignant. Although, it's funny how his work exists in isolation. Somehow anybody who's ever looked into this idea that water retains memory or emotion or can be manipulated by the mind is a very old rationale, or a very old line of thinking and inquiry. And so the fact that this guy did it once in this one experiment, not one experiment, that's not fair. In this one kind of story about his many experiments, he seems to be the one that's risen to the top on this topic. But I think it's certain we are water, if you want to think about it like that, human beings. And Earth is water, so it retains and maintains life. So water definitely has memory and can be changed. Same thing with like the morphogenic field. Everyone's like, have you heard of Rupert Sheldrake? I'm like, has anyone ever said morphogenic field besides Rupert Sheldrake? I mean, I feel like I have, but like I haven't done the experiments. It's funny how like you just get this one person associated with a certain line of thinking, but really it makes a lot more sense to kind of tie it all together. So that's why Thunderbolts makes a lot of sense if you really want to tie in Rupert Sheldrake to like, I wonder why he doesn't kind of meet up with Gerald Pollack on you know, the fourth state of water, Easy Water, and then he and Eileen McCusick like have it, like he and Eileen McCusick, who does the biofield tuning, and Rupert Sheldrake and Gerald Pollack and a few other cats should really get together and like do a live stream. And it's just like so hard to really get the word out there without their line of expertise. They spent dozens of years, decades, like working on this type of technology, and they have a lot to teach, but it's hard for so few people to really, like Rupert Sheldrake's been talking so many years about this, and really, of course it's real. Of course telepathy is real, and of course like people feel things at a distance. But we just can't move past that. Somehow it's always like, can people feel things at a distance? Isn't it really weird that people, oh my God, they felt like, wow, they called me and I felt like they were gonna call me holy. No, it's really actually annoying that we can't say, oh yeah, that is completely real. Let's start practicing doing that. So I'm doing it. That's my role. My role is to say, to point out the obvious. Yeah, Victor Schauberger actually did talk about, you know, there were many other people. I just feel like Emoto and Sheldrake got talked about a lot, and a lot of other people were talking about the same sort of thing. Well, I mean, I gotta say, I listen to Alan Watts really above all, because there's somehow he had read and was around the right kind of people where he had grasped this interconnectivity of the universe, and how not only was it all interconnected through vast interconnected networks, which, you know, he was talking about in the 50s and 60s, but he talked about psychedelic experiences and drug experiences within that context of how, of course, you're going to have these types of experiences if everything is interconnected, and of course you're gonna be on the crest and the trough of the wave through life, and it's all about a dance. So Alan Watts talks about how really it's a dance between your eyeball and the universe. You know, you're creating everything that you see and with your mind. It doesn't exist separate from you. There is no other. But we're trying so hard, desperately, as the Godhead, to create another, so that we can have the individual experience. And that's the only way the individual experience exists, is to create the other. This dance and interplay between self and other is what life is. And life is really, and we won't give it a name. Yeah, troll-free zone tonight. Peace, trolls. So let's get back to this moon thing. Jesus. I'm just trying to bring us some moon, y'all. A little bit of space, a little bit of moon. Look at this crispiness. Especially this whole region, the Apennine Mountain Range. Damn it. Every time, every damn time. So I was talking about how these interconnected hexagons, and Mary corroborated this with her bubble experiment, but you can see hexagons abound and hexagons intersecting, and this is simply, you know, I hate to kind of use that type of terminology because it's really like, I think it's all so fascinating. There's never, it's only this, it's just simply that, like Pasha, I've already figured that one out. It's never like that for me, even if it sounds like it's, when I say it's just. So, always passionate, always bringing it. So for me, this seems like the fact that lowest pressure point is a sphere. A sphere is going to push outwards as it grows and as it's cut into the soil or the regolith. And then as it reaches boundary layers and pressure points at the corners, it's going to kind of form into these hexagons. It's going to meet other spheres as they grow outwards, and they're going to push against each other. And this is what's going on everywhere around the moon. Look how crazy it is. Yo, what's up, Michael Wise or Vise? You gotta let me know if I gotta say it differently, or Michael Wise. But good to see you. This is talking about, like, what is it, Star Wars? It says midichlorians were intelligent microscopic life forms that lived symbiotically inside the cells of all living things. They allow their host to detect the pervasive energy field known as the Force. So I'm just going to pick up on that. It's something that I would probably talk about or want to jump in on the electric view if somebody said something like that. But for me, these movies, all movies right now, are talking about the same stuff, which is the fact that we're all interconnected through filaments, and there were massive, crazy changes in space. And they're all veiled within this hero's journey, Earth catastrophism type situation. But people really don't see that. So for example, like this whole Star Wars, the Force, is really all about fields. It's all about the morphogenic field. It's all, I mean, you could really just take anything Rupert Sheldrake talks about and just apply it to the idea, the concepts of being a Jedi and feeling things and feeling the Force. But then further, you know, somehow like the Force is now also bastardized by, I think it's tainted by the behavior, the blandness of Jedi. Like, they made all of them so bland. Samuel L. Jackson and Ewan McGregor, they were just like, and even like the old Obi-Wan, that type of behavior is just boring. It's not erudite, and it's not actually cool. It's like the old version of like what made people cool in the 50s, you know, that kind of like, oh, I'm not going to talk to you, man, I'm so cool. You know, but nowadays cool is actually people who can interact and who can think and who have ideas to share. Like, it's so boring to have that kind of old world mentality of the patriarchal, you know, just cool cat, even though there's still people who want to be cool. So anyway, midichlorians, this idea that there are things inside the human body that are separate from us is sort of what I want to touch on. And that just simply for me is the fact that, no, of course, we are within consciousness, and these bacteria like are not separate from us. They are us. In fact, you know, they are as much us as we are of, you know, the moon and space and the sun. And I think people have the same sort of thing with the sun. They're like, oh, we're just on Earth, you know, nearby the sun. But like the sun actually creates our existence, has a very massive role, likely, in our existence. It's coming up here on this amazing region, the Alpine mountain range, Valles Alpes from above. Wait, I don't know what I'm missing in the chat. I'm trying to read, but who's the troll? Who be the troll? I just want to do some moon zooms and listen to some tunes. Oh no, Justin's hung out before. I don't, or unless somebody's taken over Justin's account. I've seen Justin many times. Anyway, back to moon stuff. Man, so many features tonight. And Henry Dorn? Are you new? What's going on? 100 years, Victor Schauberger, yeah. I've seen you before. Welcome. Okay. I hope it's all chill, y'all. Forgive me. Let me know. Let's check in here in Aristarchus. Got this contrast level working. Jumping in here on Kepler. Again, same sort of thing, envisioning an impact versus envisioning an electrical arc, just really just zapping this hot point right here and creating these tendrils extending outwards. Same thing here, actually even more so. Great shot tonight of Copernicus. They all have these features, you know, there's this kind of, it's hard to explain, but layered look to it, like hexagons within hexagons. And let me see if I can just sketch this a little bit better. See, this looks like a bubbler to me. I mean, it's hard to imagine that an impact this large, especially here, I'm looking at Copernicus now, probably a little bit ahead of y'all. But, I mean, imagine something hitting the moon at this size. What is it? 20 kilometers, 30 kilometers across, and creating something so sharp and defined versus creating like massive cracks towards the top right, to the bottom, like, you know, the way glass would fracture. You'd think like something that huge would create a devastating impact, but it looks like it's just like hit the surface and then went splat. It looks like a flattened bullet, you know. So unless the moon is made out of like solid metal, which it doesn't seem like it is, and the actual crater Copernicus is the impact, which I don't think it is, because when you see the large high-resolution shots, these are walls with like flat floors. And then the idea that the mares were like completely carved out and then filled up with lava and then cooled to create these kind of glassy, like melted flatlands. It just doesn't make a lot of sense, and there isn't a lot of evidence to actually back it up. So much more so there's evidence for electrical interaction between planets. Yo, what's going on, Pete Johnson? Welcome back. Still going with this show, you know. So happy to have everybody. Alright, really killer shot here again of Sinus Iridum, or Bay of Rainbows. Like, how was this cut and destroyed? The whole right side of it, you know? Wow, you can really see some detail on Montes recti, is it? Our cool little word. Yeah, Montes recti. And then Montes Tenerife, Tenerife, and Mons Pico, the little chicken foot. Look at this angle on it, it's so crazy. Let's go a bit closer. Looks like I don't know. Man, that's crazy. I haven't seen it that clear in a long time. As I mentioned, October skies just give you those special views. And then you can see, wow, look at that Plato crater in the darkness a little bit. Actually, I can brighten it up a bit. Look at that, wow. Pretty spectacular. You can see like the chip, this kind of break on the southern portion of the wall. Like how did that happen? Okay, what else we got? I want to show Valles Alpes, this very harsh gash that cuts right through the Alpine mountain range. This one is so interesting, and there's no real like popular science explanation for it. This is right in the middle of your screen. It took so long to really research and to figure out all these features. I just ultimately kind of came across them as I scoured the moon's surface in the first year, and I saw these features. I was like, that's incredible that it's never talked about. So this, and it's got like a cut right in the center of it, double kind of filamentary action, just chopping right through, carving right through this mountain range. How deep is it? Plato is 101 kilometers across and about 2,000 meter summits and a collapsed part. Yeah, so not very high at all. 2,000 meters is, you know, a tenth of what the highest peaks are on the moon. So this is definitely like right after what is it? Schroeder's Valley is the second most prominent like kind of idea of an arc blast cutting across the surface. Even though it's quite a bit different, but what I mean is Aristarchus's little snake canyon. It is dankly. Let's see how deep that valley is. So Montes Alpes is like 7,300 feet. That whole region around it, Mont Blanc is 10,000 feet. So that region around it about 7,000 to 10,000 feet. And then Valles Alpes, the cut is 130 kilometers, that stretch, 11 kilometers across and 700 meters, I think, tall. So that's like 2,100 feet, about the same kind of height as, or depth as Plato. Infinite dank. I find it so funny. Those questions are so funny, but I think it's some of them are bots, some of them are real. But some of them just like ask me these things like I run away from questions. It's so ridiculous. Like I've said almost everything on this channel imaginable. It's so interesting that people just want to distract you when you actually finally have something to look at. There's so many hexagons and electrical features on the moon, and it's like a line of thinking that you can really go down and figure it out and research, and I have no time to really look at conspiracy much anymore, to be honest, because this is the real deal stuff. You can see molecules, and you can see hexagons, and you can see nature recursively within nature, and you understand oneself. And that's really all that matters, ultimately. Honeycomb structures, tiny craters on the rims of larger craters, double lobe shapes. These are like the Comet 67P, and then you have diamonds like Ryugu, and what's the other one? Ryugu, and there's another. These asteroids really take the shape of these same sort of hexagonals, pentagonals, and diamond shapes, and just because they're probably carved electrically as well. Bennu, asteroid Bennu, and Ryugu. Let's take a look quickly at Archimedes and Mare Imbrium with its incredible cut striations and stratifications. Hey, what's going on, Jeff Gibson? Welcome. What I'm really liking tonight is this region right here above Archimedes. That's Aristillus and Autolycus and Sinus Lunicus. Sinus Lunicus. This triplicate. But what was I going to say? So this region is these two little features. That's what I got a little lost there. So it looks like two little florets to the right of Autolycus, and that's Promontorium Fresnel. And these two little things are pyroclastic breaks of Rima Fresnel and Pallas Putridinus. Really neat features. Autolycus. Leave an Autolycus if you're not a troll. All right, let's keep going here. Arum Borak says, what is my take on the old wives' tale of thunder representation of lightning, then Thun Timig? I'm not sure I know what that is. And also, I'm pretty certain that there are a lot of old wives' tales that come out of truths. You know, not all cliches are fake, just because they're boring or played out. Hot dang. Let's see, Raging non-stop. Raging non-stop. Raging non-stop. That took me a second. Interesting. Raging non-stop. What's my opinion on the recurrent nova theory that's everywhere all of a sudden? So that's been around for quite a while. People have been waiting for this kind of Carrington event for a long time. As far as I can remember, Conspiracy Land always had a sun is going to go flare and destroy Earth, or the way or our way of life. So I think that that's definitely possible. You know, a lot of people make money and or try and hype up videos based on these ideas. And I think because people are very afraid to die, and also people are very interested in dying and seeing lots of people die, that they're really intrigued by the phenomenon of the apocalypse and catastrophism, but they're not willing to admit it at the same time. So you have this idea that oh, I am sick of conspiracies, but you seek out conspiracy, or one seeks out conspiracies because they're morbidly curious. So I mean, me included, but I've gotten to this point where now I understand that morbid curiosity and fascination is actually perfectly natural, and one of those things that when you dance with death, you understand life. So I feel like this idea that everybody's like promotion of catastrophism in terms of salvation, to me doesn't make sense. As soon as you start trying to save yourself, you start going against life. It's like the idea of meditation. You know, the real Buddhist doesn't sit to meditate. The true Buddhist is already awakened and then just sits. And the way the Buddha sits actually is what people think is meditation. You know, so enlightenment can just happen, and then all of a sudden you can't go back. But it really depends. Not everybody's meant to have enlightenment in this life. Simply because if you can imagine that all of life, if you're a node on a branch, if you're a twig or a leaf or a fruit or an apple on the branch of a tree, you know, not every apple has a full life cycle, and not every apple grows to its full potential. Some grow too close to the ground, and some get eaten by rats, and some are very healthy and, you know, have a full life cycle. So we're all different types of apples, and in very real physical terms. So it makes a lot more sense that that's the way things really are. Everyone's going to have a different type of death and a different type of life. Think about it, like we're also big roots and smaller roots, you know, like the roots of a tree. Some are much thicker than others, and it mirrors the same way. The trunk of the tree is thicker, and we have to, you know, certain people, certain cultures, certain countries are trunks of the filamentary branch, and they do have to support and convey healthier, smaller branches. Otherwise the root, if that's rotten, you know, it's going to affect the rest of the tree. And that's why everybody has their own kind of awareness in order to make sure that their trunk, the fact is everybody ends up being a trunk at some point for a smaller branch. So if you look at it that way and you really analogize, in a way you have to anthropomorphize like an apple tree, for example, to really grasp what I'm trying to say, but it is that way. It does seem to physically manifest as these branches. And we seem to physically manifest along these branches and have life cycles that match the filamentary and structural growth of trees. So it's much easier to look at a tree that is one-to-one with us and to understand ourselves. Michael says, maybe you don't die, your consciousness simply moves into another time stream Maybe it does. And maybe it just feels like a dream for a while, and then you wake up as an infant, and then you're informed by your society again, and you forget. I think like when you're first born, we don't really remember all those exact memories. I actually wonder what it is like for the plasma bubble to collapse on oneself when you die, and you experience all these memories all over again. I'm definitely a huge proponent of the fact that information exists outside the body as well as inside the body, but mostly the information that we perceive as our lives actually exists in shells around the human body, just like an apple skin and flesh around the apple core. And it seems like nature kind of goes through these squeezes, pinches and expansions, compressions, rarefactions. So life is, a waveform, and death is the end of the compression, of the end of the rarefaction. And you wake up again, or whatever we perceive as waking up, going through that kind of, hey Mary, you have a great night, sleep well, sleep sweetly. Butterflies and hearts. I'm glad we all exist right now to have this one moment at 2:33 a.m. with the clouds rolling through our viewpoint, checking out our moon. All right, Raging Nonstop says there's a massive biological surge of DMT. Dimethyltryptamine, is it? Dimethyltryptamine is a chemical substance that occurs in many plants and animals, and which is both a derivative and a structural analog of tryptamine. It can be consumed as a psychedelic drug and has historically been prepared by various cultures for ritual purposes. So I've never taken DMT, but I feel like I find it very interesting. Alan Watts, I always go back to him, but he pretty much has had a talk about everything that I've ever experienced. That's not true, but he always has the most poignant thing to say. He's like, what did he say about DMT? He said, the people who take DMT look at others and they wonder why they feel, there's certain people who exist in that state all the time, and they have no need for DMT or acid or LSD. And I feel like I'm that type of person where I exist in that state. I don't know how Alan Watts related to that, but I think he was just talking about how some people just don't really need it, but the people who do take it are always so confused by that. Mass Bishop says, I've also heard the moon is a soul collector. Starlight says, the moon stole my soul a long time ago. Well, think about what the soul is. Soul, if you relate it, is also the sun. It's also the base. It's also the root. And soul is also this idea that the moon and the sun affect consciousness is very real. And so it's very possible that we do see something akin to the moon when we die, or we do understand the moon better and the sun better when we die. Maybe we do return to the ether with consciousness. Maybe we wake up as this entirely different creature. Who knows? Really, it's just shedding this human suit and returning to source. All right, everybody. Gonna wind it down over here. Thanks so much. I appreciate y'all. Even the trolls, but I don't want you hanging out here. So I'm gonna go through roll call. from wherever I got it. Howie Dunn, thanks so much, man. I'll definitely catch up on that Shoot the Moon documentary, and I appreciate Crow shouting me out. Mass Bishop, thanks for hanging out. And Bon Dia, what's going on? You have a great night. And Ellie Wynn, have a great one. Mary White, you already had a good night. Who else? Starlight Spectrum wants to play tennis with an asteroid. I love it. Michael Wise and Eat All Your Fish. I know Kimmy was here earlier. Rum Borax. And there's Henry Dorn and Pete Johnson. Thanks for stopping by. Somebody Somewhere. And Raging Nonstop, welcome to the channel. Hope you come back if you want to hang with us. Session of the Nile, have a great one. And everybody who's lurking and chilling tonight, I appreciate y'all. I'll try and come on tomorrow night if the weather is clear. It's going to be last quarter moon, I believe, like 53%. Should look good. Stay electric, stay kind. And if you want to spread the word, do it. If not, it's all good. It's all good.
Meow.